Let's talk about emergency funds because these are one of those things that are so important and so valuable to have that we really need to address it because a lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions with emergency funds. Do I have one? How much do I have in it? Should I have this much? I mean, what is an emergency for? All these different things. So let's talk about it. So number one, when you're first starting out, at least get $1,000 in an emergency fund. $1,000 can at least cover some expenses and some emergencies that come up. You're driving down the highway, your tire blows. That's, a $200, $300 fix sometimes, maybe more depending on the damage. So you have the $1,000 now. You can easily cash flow that and it doesn't have to go on a credit card. It doesn't have to put you further into debt, right? If yes, a major expense happens, your roof gets blown off in a storm, hopefully you have insurance and it'll take care of it for you. But if you have to pay that out of pocket, $1,000 ain't going to cover it. But that's not where we're stopping. We're starting there. At least get to $1,000 in your emergency fund and don't touch it unless you really, really need to use it for an emergency only. Once you have that, the goal then is to pay off all your debts, and then saying, okay, once my debt's paid off, how big of an emergency fund should I have? Well, it's typically recommended to have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, depending on your situation, your circumstances, right? If you are married, you both have successful, very safe jobs that you make good money in, you may not need a 6 months. 3 months might be okay. If you're single, or maybe you're in a commission-based job, or your spouse is in a commission-based job, or maybe a high risk job that could go away at any point in time, you might want to lean more towards 6 months. It might be better to have a bigger cushion, because what that's saying is if I lose my income in any capacity, maybe I get sick, maybe I get hurt, maybe I get laid off, whatever the reason, if I lose my income for 3 months or 6 months, I can take care of all my expenses for that amount of time, right? A 3 month expense or emergency fund lets you take care of 3 months worth of your expenses while you don't have income coming in. So there's never a cap on this. You could build your emergency fund as big as you want. I've talked to people who want to have a 2-year emergency fund in case something happens and they just need to step away from life, or their income goes away, that they are good for 2 solid years. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is a personal preference. I myself always recommend to my clients to shoot for 6 months because it's just better. It's gives you more time. That's half of a year to get something, especially when you look at the job market. I mean, yes, it's coming back right now after COVID, but when job markets aren't good, or maybe your career field is extremely competitive and it's hard to get into, it may be a while to get a new job. So having at least 6 months worth of expenses set aside to take care of you and your family and get through all your bills, so you don't lose your home, you don't lose your car, that you don't lose your food and your groceries and those types of things. So it's really important to have money set aside for these types of things. And when we talk about emergency, it's an emergency. This is something that, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this now. So when you think of an emergency and a situation comes up, you need to think of a couple different things. Number one, timing. Is this something that I can live with, or do I need to fix it right this second? Right? If my car breaks down right this second, I'm going to have to fix it if I have to go to a job. For me, I work from home, and yes, I use my car, and yes, it'd be an inconvenience, but I could be okay if I needed to push it a couple weeks to get it fixed so I found the money. Right? If something in your house breaks, like your ceiling fan, yeah, that's not fun, and we need a new ceiling fan, but it's not really a timely situation. You don't have to fix it right now. So you need to look at that. You also need to look at the importance of what is it that just happened? Because, oh my gosh, my TV breaking is not an emergency, right? That is not an emergency at all. My engine going out of my car is an emergency, right? Or my air conditioning going out when it's 100 degrees outside. Those things are emergencies that do need to be dealt with in a timely manner. And that's what this fund is for. It is not to replace the TV that your kids knocked over, your dog knocked over. It is not for you to, do the things in your house, the cosmetic work and updates you want to do. It is strictly for emergencies.